Hello, my name is Adrian. Welcome to the video tutorial. I'm quite new to ethical hacking myself, and I've been learning through studying paid for courses and also looking at Try Hack Me and Hack the Box as a way to help my own learning and to give back to others who may also need help. I thought I would put together some video tutorials for at least the free machines for now on Hack the Box. There are written walkthroughs, there are written guides, there's like PDFs and links to some blogs that people have wrote, and they're all very good, but I find that sometimes it doesn't quite explain every little step. And looking on YouTube, there are some video tutorials, but I do think that a lot of them kind of can skip over little things, and you know, I do apologise. This video isn't aimed for people who probably are already quite experienced at hacking. It's more aimed at people on my level, which is still quite new to hacking, maybe even to just using Kali Linux. So in this video, I'm going to assume that you've already installed Kali Linux, or you have it. You have Linux as your OS anyway. But what I've done is downloaded VirtualBox and then uploaded the Kali Linux disk image to that and run it as a virtual machine on Windows 10 operating system. And I'm using a snapshot here of the, just after a fresh initialization of the system. So it may be that I have to download all the little things that most people probably would have already downloaded. So my aim is for someone who's totally stuck on this box, I'm going to take you through every little step and just help explain as much as I know, because I'm not an expert, but as much as I know, I'm going to help explain things. And hopefully if you are come to a point where you're stuck on this box, you'll be like, okay, I see now. But anything could happen with computers. It could be one little configuration that is wrong, or one little error that happened, and you won't be able to complete it. But if you follow the steps I do, hopefully it should work, because I've got it to work. I did record my screen as I did it the first time, but I forgot to actually click the button record, so I went through and did it a second time from a fresh screenshot of the system again. So everything I did the first time worked. I did it again and replicated it, and it worked the same. There is one point where something, like, I get a bit confused because it didn't quite work, and then I realised my mistake, what it was, so I'll mention that when I come to it. But I still managed to complete the box again. This video is for the box on the starting point section, and it's called Pathfinder, which is I think the 5th one down. So with all that out of the way, I'm going to jump ahead into the website Hack the Box. Obviously, sign up, create your own account. It's free, and there's plenty of free resources on there. That's what this video is going to be going over. One of the free boxes that we can hack, called Pathfinder. Okay, so if I keep saying I do apologise. I need to get used to narrating these videos. So once you have made an account, on the left you can see it says Labs. You want to click on starting point. You want to find Pathfinder in the list, which I think is the 5th one down. The ones below it are all premium, you have to pay for, I think, but the first few and Pathfinder are free. I've done the first two a while ago, before I decided I'd make any kind of video tutorials. The next two that you saw in the list, like number 3 and 4, I had a go at, but they're a bit tricky, so I want to come back to those. I thought I'd give number 5 a go, Pathfinder, and I think it's the easiest one actually. But maybe that's just how I found it. So once you've got onto this screen, you want to click on Join Machine first of all, and you'll see the IP address show up, which is probably going to be 10.10.10.30, which is the IP address for Pathfinder. Now you can't connect to it just from that. You'll have to connect with the VPN, which I'm going to go over now. Use the button on the top right, the red button that says connect to HTTP, and then you'll see two options, play machines and starting point, and then there's like a competition box or something on the bottom. You want to use obviously starting point, because that will let you connect to these machines that are in the starting point section, and then you'll notice it says for me US starting point, even though I'm in the UK. When I tried using the European servers, it didn't work, and I had a little look around for maybe as to why it didn't work, and I couldn't find out. But I used the US servers and it worked fine, and it had no difference. So I assume try European if you are European. If it doesn't work, try the US. That seemed to solve the problem. Next, it will give you two options of OpenVPN or Pwnbox. I think Pwnbox you have to pay for, but it's kind of like doing what we're going to do, but through the web browser, I think. And it might be a little bit less technical to set up than the VPN. However, I'd recommend using the VPN, OpenVPN, because it's quite straightforward actually, and it's going to get you used to using terminal, which is like the command interface, which you have to use really. And it's daunting. It's a bit daunting at first, but it's quite, once you get the hang of it, it's really straightforward really. So definitely click on OpenVPN. Next, you are greeted with this screen just saying which server you'd like to join, and as I mentioned I had to use the US server, and leave protocol is UDP. There's not a massive difference between UDP and TCP, and then we're going to click on download VPN, the green button at the bottom. This will start a download pop-up in your web browser. I'm using Firefox. Wherever your browser sends that to as the default place for the downloads is where it will be. In this case, it'll be in just the downloads folder, it's called, if you're using Kali Linux. So now you want to click on this button in the top left of the screen, which will open up terminal prompt, which is like command prompt. I don't think it's called terminal prompt, it's just called terminal, but it's basically like a command prompt that you see in Windows when you type in CMD on your search, and this is the tool that we use to hack. It's not a graphical user interface, it's all text based, but you can pretty much do anything you need to do on the computer, but obviously we've just got used to doing things using graphical interfaces, but obviously with hacking you're going to spend more time trying to upload files, download files, upload data, such as passwords and things. You're not gonna, and if you are in a system, you're not gonna have time really, or you don't need to see the target machine's screen graphical user interface. So everything's much more quickly done through the use of terminal. So once you have opened terminal, click and drag the top of the box and move it to the side. I've also moved over the Firefox tab to the side as well, just like you do in Windows. And if you hover the mouse and drop and let go of the left click button, drop the tab on the far left, it will snap to half the screen. Do the same with the terminal on the right, just let go of it near the right of the screen, it will snap to half the screen. And you can also do this in the top left, bottom left, top right, bottom right, and it will snap to a quarter of the screen. Very similar, probably most people know how that works, very similar to Windows. And what you're seeing me do now is just hold the control shift button and press T to open up a new terminal, and then you can hold control and press page up, page down to flick through those, to tab through the tabs, to cycle through the tabs quickly. It's good to have a few of those open ready. So first of all, we need to CD, which means change directory, to our downloads folder, because as you can see, this is where the file that we just downloaded from Hack the Box is stored. The name of the file is starting point, and then it will be a username .ovpn. And you will need to find this. It's probably going to be, if you're using Kali Linux like me, it's probably going to be in your home directory, which is that little squiggly symbol. That's short for basically your username, and then slash, and then downloads is probably in there. So if you just type in CD downloads and you see it's underlined, just press enter, it'll take you straight to the downloads folder, and then you can type in ls, which stands for list, and it will list all the files in there, and we only have one file downloaded, which is obviously starting point. If you can't find that, it's probably best to do a little bit of more reading around how to navigate through the directories. If you use that little squiggly line, I forget the name of it, and then press enter, that will take you to or CD first and then enter that squiggly line. That'll take you to your user's local kind of directory, and in there you'll have documents, downloads, desktop, all these different files. So if you're not sure how to find it, it's probably best you pause this video and you might want to look at other videos that maybe go into navigating that a little bit more. So what you'll see me do now is start to type in sudo open VPN and then the username, and you'll notice the username, sorry, the file name, which has got my username in it. You'll notice it popped up really quick, and this is just done by typing in the first couple letters of the file and then pressing the tab key, and the computer will, like, if there's only one file with those letters, it will go straight, it'll type that out for you straight away, because the computer knows, oh, there's only one option, it's got to be this. If there's more than one option, it might pop up with a list, and you can use the arrow keys or the tab key to select which one of the list you wanted. So we type in sudo first, which is like super user do, which means basically give me privileges, give me administrator privileges to let me do this, because otherwise your computer's going to stop you and say, hang on, you're just a normal user, you know, you can't do this without, you know, being the big boss, being the administrator. So you type sudo in first, which you will do most of the time when you're executing commands, because a lot of the time without sudo it either won't run or it will return an error. And then we finger space, of course, then we type in open VPN, which is calling the program we want to execute. We want to use OpenVPN, another space, of course, and then that's when we type in the name of the file. So it's called a flag, or I think, or a switch. So OpenVPN is the command, and the flag or the switch or the argument we're using is starting point, and that command is basically telling OpenVPN, I want you to run this file with the default settings, because we haven't got any of the flags or switches set. So OpenVPN knows exactly what to do with that. It will take that file and it will start to set up a interface through that VPN network, which Hack the Box has already kind of configured us in a file nicely for us. So we just need to just literally type in sudo openvpn and then the name of the file, and it should be underlined. If it's not underlined, it's probably you've mistyped it. Then just press enter. Now you see, because this is the first time I've done sudo, it's just warning me about, oh, you know, make sure that you are giving yourself administrator privileges. You must be making sure you are being careful, because you can do anything. You could just break the machine quite easily, because the machine's kind of trusting us with the sudo command that we are going to be sensible and not do anything dangerous. It won't do that again. It does that the first time, I think. And then on Linux, when you do type in sudo, it will ask you for the administrator password for the, or if you could call it the root account. It'll ask for the password, and it will do this every 5-10 minutes, because it's just double checking. Hang on, are you still the person who you say you are? So if it ever pops up with a password, don't be surprised. Just type the password in again, and when you do type in the password, it won't appear on the screen. So if you make a mistake, you either hold the backspace, delete all the characters that are stored in memory, type it out again, or just press enter. It will come back, oh, this is wrong, and just type the command in again. Yeah, and that's how you want to set up the VPN. You'll see it all now start to initialize. So if it has worked, it should just take a moment, and at the bottom of all the log of what happened, it should say initialization sequence completed, something like that. Now what you'll see me do is click on another terminal tab. You could also hold Control, press page up or page down, and in the second tab I've typed in the command if config, and then I've used a switch or flag, I'm not sure which it technically is. I've used -a just to show, it means I want all my interfaces to be shown on my computer, and you'll notice there's 3 of them. The first two are to do with the machine locally, like the loopback address and just the general IP address of the machine. It's probably going to be just like a private reserved IP address, and then hopefully if the VPN has worked, you'll see the ton 0 at the bottom of the list. That is the VPN connection. That is our IP address as seen on the VPN and by HackTheBox. What you'll see me do next is I'm about to type in a command, and then I realise as this is a fresh install, I don't have this program installed. So what we're going to do is go to Google. We're going to type in Sublime. Sublime is like a text editor. Think like Microsoft Word. It's like a processor, but very basic compared to Word. It's more like Notepad. And there's a few different options. I think Vim is another one, but I use Sublime. Just preference really. You'll know that you'll come to learn that in hacking there's different tools, but they do very similar jobs, and it's just up to you to which tool you think you like the most. So we're going to go to Google, type in Sublime, and we're going to click on this link. The reason that it is a good idea to download some kind of notepad type of program software is because when you're doing your penetration testing, you'll be needing to jot down like things such as what ports you find that are open when you scan, what services are on them, usernames that you discover, passwords, and hashes that you can find, which will all come in useful when you're trying to hack into a machine. You can type these, copy and paste these into a terminal, but Sublime gives you more, it's easier. You can go up and down a little bit more between what you've typed in, because in terminal you press enter and what you've typed in kind of gets inputted as a command, and then it's kind of like not in memory anymore. But if you have like a notepad open, you could get a pen and paper just as easily really and just write down all the information. But if we download Sublime, it's probably going to be quicker because we can just copy and paste the text that we want to keep. So think of Sublime as like your notepad as you're working. So we go to the website, we click on that link, install Sublime, the first link, fairly easy to spot, and then you're on this page here. apt is, it's kind of hard to explain, and I'm not 100% sure, but it's kind of like a bank of loads of different useful utilities that you can download for Kali Linux or for any Debian based machine, I think. And it's very simple. You can do it through terminal just using apt. So we're going to literally copy and paste in the lines of code that we need. We could type these out, but it's much quicker just to copy and paste them in, and these commands will reach out to the web servers that it needs to go to and download all that information, the data, the program that we need. So we copy and paste this into terminal, and you can do that by highlighting the text you want to copy from the Firefox browser, holding the control button and then pressing C to copy that. Then we click over onto our terminal, and we're going to hold control and shift and then press V. It's normally just control and V, but in terminal it's control and shift and V to paste. And likewise, if we want to copy from terminal, we highlight the text that we want to copy and we hold control and shift and press C. Don't press just control and C, because that's a keyboard shortcut, a command that tells terminal to cancel the current executable that you've just done. So like if you're connected via secure shell to a machine, you press control C, you're going to lose your connection to that machine remotely. So control C is to cancel, control and shift and C is to copy. So as you can see here, I have copy and pasted in that line of code that we need, because we're going to install this key we need first. You don't always do this, but this is what we need to do to get Sublime. And then you can see I went to the start of the command. I just put sudo in and then a finger space, just to make sure there's no errors, because it might work fine, but it's just double checking that, make sure we give it administrative privileges. And then, as I said earlier, don't be surprised if it asks for your password. It does ask for your password every now and again. every now and again. It just likes to make sure it's still you. And then if you see what's appeared on the screen here, then you know that part has worked okay. Okay, so there's two more copy and pastes that we need to do. First of all, copy and paste this underneath stable, because we want the stable version of Sublime, not the developer version. And then lastly, these two commands, but we can copy and paste that as acting as one command essentially. That'll just make sure that app to get is up to date before it downloads Sublime. And ignore that OBS screen, I was just double checking I was recording. I didn't want to make that mistake again where I went through it all and forgot to press record. And then as you can see on the right, it'll start to download and it'll just give you updates as it's working. You can close the Sublime browser tab now. If this on the terminal is showing up, then you know you're on the right track to downloading Sublime. I just typed in clear there to just clear the screen, to clear all the commands I put in. Now the command to get Sublime open is subl, subl, which stands for Sublime of course. And once you type that in, give it a second, it'll open up a document, and within the document you'll be able to open up multiple tabs, which I will do in a second. I like to keep my Sublime top right or top left kind of thing, and then minimize it when it's not in use. But when I'm typing on terminal, I like to be able to see it, because often we'll have on there IP addresses and username and passwords, things like that. You're going to see me open up some more tabs just to keep myself organized. That is done with hold control and press N, or you can press the little plus arrow on the right. I like to use the first tab to collect all the information about the target machine. So we're targeting the machine at the IP address of 10.10.10.30. So I type that in as well as the name of the machine. In this case, it's called Pathfinder. And then the second tab, I like to jot down any additional details to do with our machine, us. And we're on 10.10.14.128. Your IP address will be slightly different, because when you connect via the Open VPN, Hack-the-Box will give you an IP address in a certain range. So it's probably similar to mine, but it won't be exactly the same. They're kind of dynamically allocated, I imagine. So yeah, we've got the Sublime ready to go to take our notes. We've got the IP addresses of our interface from where we're attacking from, and the target IP address where which machine we are attacking. Now for the moment, don't worry about what I'm typing in. I'll tell you what the command is. So don't copy this, what I'm about to type, because I get it wrong to begin with. I was trying to remember the correct commands with the correct switches to go along with it. So I do make a few mistakes, but while I'm going through that, let me just give you some information on what kind of we do first. So when we're ready to attack a machine, we probably want to do some reconnaissance on it, or enumeration. We want to find out what we're working with, what can we possibly exploit, what are its vulnerabilities. You might do some like social media type of snooping on the organization first and things like that, but once you've got all that kind of planning out the way and you're ready to actually do some network reconnaissance, you want to use something like Nmap, but we're going to use MS scan first because it's a little bit quicker than Nmap. It can give us just like a range of port. It can give us all the ports that are open, and then we can. I like to use Nmap to get a bit more detail about those open ports. But you could use just Nmap, or you could use just MS scan on its own. But I like to use a little bit of both. So ports are, if you imagine an office building, when you walk in the door, the front door of the building, that's like going through that's accessing the building with the IP address. But you need more than an IP address, because once you're in the building, once you're in the computer needs to know where to send those bits of data, like the ones and zeros. It needs to know, okay, so what's this for? Where's it going to? Is it going to our web browser? is it going to some kind of server that we have on the machine. So ports are just numbers which tell you which little office desk to go to once you're in the building, kind of thing. And ports can be open, they can be shut, they can be filtered, they can have different states, but traditionally they're either going to be available or unavailable. And if you closed every single port and it was all unavailable, you wouldn't be able to probably hack the machine. I don't know if you could, but it'd be very unlikely to hack it, but obviously you probably wouldn't be able to use it on the network, so it kind of makes it redundant. So yeah, we need to find out which ports are available for us to possibly exploit. Now I couldn't figure out the exact command I needed, so I just typed in man and then ms scan. Man stands for manual, so it gives me like a book, a manual guide of ms scan, and looking through that I think I kind of remembered what I'd missed, which was I think I needed to put in -p for ports and then specify which ports I wanted, and I went kind of like from 0 to 6,000 odd, because there's only like, I can't remember now, it's like 65,000. Most of you probably know how many ports there are exactly. So yeah, I just used the manual page to help me remember what it was, the command I was going to type in, and then in a second it should appear what command you want to use. I'll type it in a second, what command you want to use to search for all the open ports. Once we get that information back, it'll take a little bit of time to run the scan, because our machine will send packets of data to the target machine, and it'll listen like, oh, what comes back, like what port kind of responded back and said, oh, I'm listening, and then we know the port's open. But if nothing comes back, then we know that that port is probably closed, and that's a very basic kind of, that's the gist of what it is. I think I needed to specify which interface, that's it, yeah, I had to put I think that flag says E and then turn 0. So let me pause the screen there. Okay, the command you're going to need is sudo mass scan, then the IP address of the machine we're attacking, which is probably going to be for you as well, 10.10.10.30. Then we need to specify which ports we want, so we create the switch P, and we're just going to do all the ports 0 to 65,585. Then finger space, and then I don't know if you need double dash or a single dash, but we do double dash here. Then rate equals 1000, then finger space, and then finally, this is what I missed earlier, the flag, which is a -e, and then I'm going to type in ton 0. It'll probably be ton 0 for you as well, but double check whichever interface is associated with your IP address attached to the VPN. Once you've done that, press enter. Probably ask you for your password again, type that in, press enter again, and away it will go. So while it's searching, I was just taking this opportunity now to just clean up my tabs. I like to keep my first tab open on the VPN, the second terminal tab open on ifconfig, which just shows our IP address really, and then the next tab will probably be, you know, the MS scan that's running now in the background. So I'm going to take this chance then to open up the walkthroughs. So like I said earlier in the video, there is a written walkthrough and there are user submitted walkthroughs at the bottom. We're just going to use the PDF official walkthrough that was created by the creator of the box. Big shout out to him or her for designing this box and setting up everything that allows people like me to practice hacking, and also for creating the walkthrough. We're going to be using that and just elaborating on it really, because like I said, the aim of the video is really super beginner friendly. I'm going to keep the PDF open through Firefox browser on the left, and on the right you can see the terminal is still carrying on with the scan, and on the left now I'm just going to prepare a little bit more my notes, just writing the name of the utility that we used. We used MS Scan. Think of it like a piece of software really, it's a tool to use, and in a bit I'm going to copy and paste all those into MS Scan, so I don't have to keep it locked on the terminal. You know, it can free this terminal tab up, and I'll copy and paste all that information over in a second. But just before I do that, I'm actually going to use Nmap. You'll see me use now. Okay, so to use Nmap utility, very similar to MS Scan, it's a tool that's going to check which ports are open on the target machines. So we're going to type in Nmap, then we're going to type in the IP address of the machine we want to target, then we're going to do -vv -sc -sv. The -vv is the same flag that we did in MS Scan as well. It just means verbose, it means tell me more. So when Nmap runs now, there's more information that will appear. Don't worry about the others so much. -f just means fast mode. It means it's just going to scan the 100 most common ports. And as you can see, straight away it's kind of found these six or so. Yeah. So I'm going to start to copy and paste some information now based on these scanning techniques over into Sublime. First of all, I navigate back to the terminal tab that is currently executing MS Scan, and it's nearly finished. Any second now. There you go. I'm going to copy and paste all of these ports that it has found to be open into our Sublime document for safekeeping. Like so. Remember to hold Control and Shift and press C to copy, and then when you're in Sublime it's just going to be Control V. You don't need the Shift as well. Next I start to type interesting ports. That's it. So I'm just trying to organize my notes. So those are the open ports I found, but they're not all going to be very useful or interesting. So I'm going to copy and paste this information from the Nmap scan that's now finished in one of my other terminal tabs. This is kind of like the interesting information. So it tells us on what ports, what services have been detected. So I'm just copying that in there, and then just shifting around some of the text just so it's a bit easier to read. So for example, on port 53 it uses TCP protocol. It's open and it's domain name service, DNS, I think. Yeah, and I think I accidentally pressed the wrong button. I was trying to tab to push the text to the right quicker, but I forgot to not hold Shift as I did it. Otherwise, if you hold Shift and press Tab, it will cycle you through the tabs that are open within Sublime. So as you can see here, I'm just organising, having a read. We know from this Nmap scan that it's the operating system Windows OS operating system, and also it tells us the name of the machine. The name of the computer is Pathfinder in all capitals. And then I'm just organising my notes again. Possible vulnerabilities, because Nmap, when we did that flag -S capital C, that flag looks for vulnerabilities. Or was it the S? It might be the -SV one. No, that's services. Yeah, so the -S capital V looks for services, so that tells us like if it's LDAP or it was DNS, whatever. And then the -S capital C one, I think, means like scripts, run default scripts, and that will try and find vulnerabilities. Doesn't always work, and there are different ways. Like you can see here, I'm gonna do it. I think I'm doing a different way now of trying to find vulnerabilities. So I get rid of those two flags, and I put in --script vuln VULN, and it's very similar to -SC, but it might find some slightly different vulnerabilities. I'm just clearing up that terminal because we don't need that one anymore with the MS scan on it. Here I am back in the terminal page with Nmap, and reading the guide now, it gives us a clue as to what is going to come in handy. So it reads, port 88 is typically associated with Kerberos and port 289 with LDAP, which indicates that this is a domain controller. So it's definitely Windows based. If you think about active lightweight directory access protocol, I think that's what LDAP is. You got to think Windows, and same with Kerberos, it's all Windows authentication. We note that WinRM is enabled on port 5985, and I did Google that to double check what WinRM was because I wasn't sure, so that might appear in the video, but that's Windows remote, and that is quite a good one to exploit. So yeah, if the guide wasn't here, you might, if you didn't have this PDF guide, you might struggle on what to do next as a beginner hacker. But I imagine as I get more experienced, and as you will as well, we'll look at this and think port 88, boom, Kerberos. I know exactly how Kerberos can be exploited. Port 389, is that LDAP? Nmap tells me it's an LDAP service. Boom, I know exactly how we could exploit that. And likewise, when we're more experienced, we'll just look at, oh, port 5985, WinRM. Yeah, I know what we can possibly do to exploit that. It'll just be second nature. Okay, once that Nmap scan had finally finished, I'd look at it and it didn't really tell us anything new. Just say it gave us some negatives, some failures in terms of it couldn't do this specific vulnerability. So there's not much more to go on. So I typed in Nmap again with the IP address of the target machine. I like to switch on the flag VV, switch on the flag F, but really I should have took that off. I think I just forgot to took it off. Put on the flag script Vun for look for the common vulnerabilities with these services, and I want to attack these ports. Yeah, it said it wouldn't work because I had an F on as well as ports on, which didn't make sense. So it told me to take the F off. So it just looks at the ports now then that are in the 49, is it 49,000 or 496,000? Can't see, it's too small on my little editing screen. But I typed in the ports based on the MS scan, because you remember the MS scan found all the open ports, whereas the Nmap scans just found the most common ones. So what I'm doing now is not taking that PDF guide's word for it, because they said, oh yeah, this port 3500 whatever was WinRM, but in the Nmap scan using the switch F, it didn't look at that port. So the only way I would have known about it, apart from looking at that walkthrough, the only way I would have known about it was thanks to the MS scan of all of them. So I'm just sweeping, just checking all the ports now. So I started with the first 4 on my list from the MS scan, and as you can see here, it tells us this one's for WinRM, and there are a couple of others. I don't think they're massively important. There might be other users on the system accessing the machine, I'm not entirely sure. But then I just double check which ports do I not know much about. So the ones from the Nmap scan, which are at the bottom of my Sublime document there under interesting ports, if I have it from Nmap, then I don't need to look at it again. So as you can see, I know all these ones down here, but I know that one there was WinRM. I know that this one, based on the Nmap scan, was the LDAP, LDAP. So I'm just checking all the open ports that I possibly can, just to see what vulnerabilities may exist. What avenues of entry could we get? What exploits could we tackle based on what the machine is allowing us to possibly exploit? I'm just going to skip ahead now then, because this did take me a little bit of time, just updating all my notes and just checking every single port. So because we know there's Kerberos, there's lightweight directory access protocol, and it's like a domain, a Windows domain, then we can probably guess that we could use a program called Bloodhound to map out the domain and have a graphical user interface of where the machines are in connection to where the users and the groups and the administrators are, and essentially map it out literally. Okay, and that's using something that I learned for the first time doing Pathfinder called Bloodhound. So what I'm doing now in my terminal window is I'm going to a new tab. I'm going to change directory to documents, just check anything's there with ls. Nothing's in there yet. Then I'm going to make directory, which is mkdir. So I'm creating like a folder basically. I'm making a folder or a directory, and I'm calling it Pathfinder just to keep all the documents together in one place. I'm then changing it to that folder, and then I'm going to install pip, because pip will be needed to install Bloodhound and all the other things that we might need. I'm not 100% sure what pip is, but it's very similar to apt, but I think it works with Python. It uses Python, I think, to install packages or whatever it is that you need to utilities. A lot of utilities like nmap and msscan that we used earlier to do the network reconnaissance are built into Kali Linux. A lot of things are built in, but there are so many cool tools out there and new things that aren't in Kali Linux by default, Bloodhound being one of them. So to use Bloodhound there, we have to install pip first of all, as I'm typing in here. And when it asks you don't want to continue, just press enter, or you can type in Y and press enter, just say yes. It's just showing us the process. So now we used app to install pip. We can use pip to I think install something else later on. Can't entirely remember. Oh yeah, it installs Bloodhound, so we're going to be using pip very shortly. I think pip is something like Python installation package or package installer Python, something to do with Python. Anyway, Bloodhound can be found on GitHub. GitHub is a great website that hosts users' programs that they've coded themselves, and they've uploaded the code, and to download them you can do it quite simply from terminal. You can install them straight from terminal. But as we can see here, Bloodhound requires Impacket, LDAP3 and DNS Python. It requires those three things, so we need to go hunting for those. The first of those three things is Impacket, which is a collection of Python classes for working with network protocols. Impacket is focused on providing low-level programmatic access to the packets, and I'll let you read the rest of that if you want to. Impacket is great, and every time I start from a clean, fresh install, I always try and grab Impacket, because it's going to give you lots of utilities for hacking. It's really good, but it's not the easiest to set up. It has got a fruit. You've got to jump through a few hoops. So first of all, I do cd ... which means go back a directory. Then I do ls just to double check that Pathfinder's there, nothing else. Then I make a directory in Packet, and then I go into it, change into it. However, don't type all this out, because I think this is a mistake I made. I didn't need to do this. In a second you'll see me bring up my notes, because I was doing this and I was a bit like, hang on, I don't remember creating an Impacket folder before. So let me just check my notes and see what that says. So as you can see from my notes here in this Microsoft Word document that I've been building as I've been learning things, I always type everything new that I learn into it. When I learned about Impacket, I realised I didn't want to forget how to install it, so I wrote it here. The command that I need is simply sudo git clone. Here we go. I'm going to type it out. I think I'll maybe copy and paste it. No, I'll type it out. Sudo git clone, which is like for GitHub. Clone, I think, just means like go to that page and copy the code that the developers put on that web page, I think. Or take it's because it's a .git file. You'd have to double check and what exactly is a .git file, if it's just a text file or not. So that clones it into Impacket, and you see that it's got a lowercase I, so it's not the same folder, because the folder I made was a capital I. So when I list there's already a folder called Impacket automatically created thanks to the use of the clone command. And this is when I kind of realised, and I tried to move it. I moved the in-packet folder out of the where it was, and I put it into the documents folder. And then I was just double checking, is there anything left in the capital I in-packet folder that I made? No, there's not. So I went back out again and then just removed that directory, because if there's something in it, I don't think it lets you remove the directory. So now I've just got those two, the in-packet with a lowercase I that was automatically made, and the Pathfinder document I made earlier. And I'm just checking what's inside there by doing ls, and then the name of the directory lists what is in that directory. So next I wrote down that I've got to make sure I change to the folder, so get yourself in that newly created folder. So I typed in cd, then I pressed tab. I pressed tab too early, and the computer didn't know what I wanted it to do. So I just went back a few spaces and tried again, and realised, oh, my mistake was probably the fact that there's a slash in front of it, and that slash shouldn't be there. Yeah, so I deleted it, and there you go, it's underlined, so you know it's going to work. So now I'm inside the in-packet folder with all these documents in, such as changelog, Docker file, examples, all that stuff. Okay, I think this is where I went wrong, and I didn't realise it until later, I think. No, I didn't. I did realise. Yeah, because that real path would have been wrong. It wasn't opt. It's going to be tilde, which is the sign for a user's home folder, then slash documents slash in-packet, and then finally the file is called requirements.txt. Now it does something there, and I think later on I might have to come back and do something similar, because it didn't quite. Oh no, it did work. Yeah, you see there it says sudo python3 /setup.py.install. I think I actually forget to do this, so I copied it there, and then did I ever paste it? The copy and paste didn't work. I must not have double checked. Yeah. Oh no, hang on, I did. So I went back. Oh no, I never actually entered the command I needed. So later on, when there's a mistake and I'm a bit confused, it was because I never copy and pasted that last command to get it to work. Okay, so next we need to get LDAP 3. So I just googled how to install it, and I was looking at this website first of all. I can't remember if it was this website or another one, which pretty much gave me the command I needed. I think it might have been this second one here. Yeah, that looks pretty straightforward. Pip install LDAP 3. Yeah, so it's a good job we installed pip earlier. And here you can see me type it in, sudo pip install LDAP 3. And it said it's already installed. So it looks like this fresh install of Kali on my VirtualBox. This version of Kali already has it in, which is good. But just double check if yours has. Excuse me, I'll just take a sip of water. It's really hot here today in the UK. It's been lovely weather last week. I think I was just double checking now if it was up to date. So I did sudo pip install LDAP 3 -U, and that will just tell pip to check LDAP and update it if it needs to be updated. And I think that worked fine. You can see that little bar, progress bar going across, and when it's all the way up it's done. I like that little touch. It's like a graphical touch but within the text-based terminal. So yeah, make sure your LDAP 3 is updated. Can easily be done using those commands. And then we need DNS Python. I can't remember if this one was already installed as well. I don't think it was, if I remember correctly. So again, I'll just do a quick Google how to install it. I'm not sure what that first thing said on the Google. website. And I thought, hang on, is it just going to be as easy as sudo pip install DNS? Is it the same command? But I'll just carry on double checking. There we can see the latest version is going to be 2.1.0. So we've got to just check if we've got that version. DNS Python, and yeah, it was as easy as that. And yeah, it says it's already installed, but I think I didn't have the latest version. I don't think I had 2.1. I think I had 2.0. So again, I just did sudo pip install DNS Python -u just to keep it up to date, and there you go, progress bar done within a matter of moments. So now Bloodhound requires LDAP 3, DNS and in-packet, and on my machine I have LDAP 3 and DNS Python installed, and if I'd have done that last command for the in-packet installation I would have had that as well, but at the moment I don't think I quite have that in-packet to where I need it to be, but when we run into that later I'll get it kind of fixed. So sudo pip install Bloodhound, nice and easy. And then I just thought I'd just double check, does it need an update? Sudo pip install Bloodhound with capital U, and I think it says it's already up to date. So yeah, it's all good. And then we're ready to actually, I think we need to get another program for Bloodhound to work, because I believe Bloodhound's like a graphical user interface for the underlying or the back-end program, which is Neo4j, I think it's called. So in a moment we'll start to download and get that installed so that we can configure Bloodhound to be used with that. So I think at the moment, yeah, I was just checking. So I typed in Bloodhound and Google got a bit confused, he didn't know what I meant, so I typed in Linux, and I was just checking to find if there was a stable release version number up to date. I think I had a bit of trouble finding that, so I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit in the video. Okie doke. So now we're going to type in the command to get some files, configuration files that we need based on that active domain in the Microsoft network that we're attacking. So I'm going to zoom in the camera. Now the command you need here is based on when you have completed the previous machines in the starting point. You get credentials, because it's assumed that these machines are probably within the same kind of network. And so we do sudo bloodhound -python -d, which is a switch which will ask for the domain name, and it's called megacore.local. And this is told you straight away in the PDF, because you assumed that you've already found it earlier. But also I think when I did the nmap scan, we actually found out the name, that it was called megacore.local. I think it's in that in the nmap scan as well. But regardless, the walkthrough tells you that. Then it's -u, sorry my mouse cursor seems to be in the way, -u for user, and then the username already found out in a previous machine was Sandra, -p, and then already found out in the previous machine that her password was password1234 ! And just use a quotation mark at the front and a quotation mark at the end of that. Then -gc, which I'm not entirely sure what that stands for at the moment, but it's pathfinder.megacore.local, and that might again have been in the nmap results, the name kind of thing of the, I'm guessing it's the address kind of thing of the domain. Then C, I'm not sure that is connection all, then -ns1, I'm not entirely sure what that is either. Oh no, sorry, it's not 1, it's 10.10.10.30 of course, which is the IP address of the machine. And then hopefully your screen will pop up like this. It'll be giving you some information, and I'll tell you how quickly it took to do that. And basically what it's done is it's grabbed as information about the users, the administrators, the configuration files essentially, and it's put them into these .json files. So you get computers.json, domains.json, groups.json, and users.json. And those 4 .json files you'll see me do now, what I do is I just move them. And you could probably do this in bulk, but I wasn't too sure how to do it, so I just did it one at a time. I moved computers.json into my Pathfinder document, and then I do the same for the domains.json, the same for the groups.json, and the same for the user.json, just moving those files into that dedicated folder that I made for this machine called Pathfinder. So you don't have to move them, you can keep them where they are, doesn't really matter. It's just something that I did to I try and keep myself a little bit organized as I'm going. Okay, so now you can see that they are all listed within the Pathfinder document. I just type in clear to clear the terminal, and then carry on reading the PDF walkthrough. It mentions now then we need to download the Neo4j so it can work alongside Bloodhound. So we're going to type in sudo apt install Neo4j, and that should work straight away. I'll start downloading, and while it was downloading I thought, well, I don't know what it is, so I'm going to do a little reconnaissance on it. What is it? And as you can see, it's a graph database platform. I think basically it's just it enables you to gather data and present it in like a graph or a flowchart or some kind of graphical presentation. So maybe I was wrong when I said Neo4j is the back end of Bloodhound. Maybe Bloodhound works on the back end of Neo4j. I have to double check that. And then we type in sudo apt update. Oh no, you don't have to update it. I was just checking actually, does it need to be updated? But I think you don't. I don't think with apt you can individually update the programs that you've got installed through apt. I think it's, yeah, I did a Google on it. I think you have to do a general update of the apt command, and it will go out to all those programs it's got, and it will check, do you need updating, do you need updating, do you need updating? So it's not as like you can't do it specifically like you could do with the pip with the dash capital U. So as you can see here, I figured out sudo apt update get, sudo apt get update, and it didn't need to. I think it updated a couple things, but it didn't need to really do much. Yeah, I've only got Sublime text at the moment that it needed to do, and Kali download, something to do with the operating system maybe. But anyway, then we're going to do apt install Bloodhound. So earlier we didn't use Bloodhound exactly, maybe I've got a feeling we used like a Python script that is very similar to like what Bloodhound would need. So now we're properly installing Bloodhound. I've got a feeling that Bloodhound is actually the one then that we're going to be using with Neo4j kind of in the background. And as you can see again, when you Google Bloodhound, it's not the easiest thing when you're talking about the program, not the dog. So I'm just checking out a little bit of information about it while I'm downloading, because everyone needs to learn and start somewhere. So although many people probably know already about this, if you come across something new, it's always a good idea to just like check it out, especially if you have a bit of downtime while something's downloading, just to gather some more information really. Okay, so that was done, and then we have to start the Neo4j program, which is not as simple as it first appears on this PDF, because as you can see, I type in Neo4j start console, and there's like it doesn't know what it's a bit confused. It's like, what do you mean? So I think, okay, well maybe it's been updated, and in the new update it no longer needs to be start console, maybe it's just start. So that kind of worked. It gave me some information back, but again it kind of threw back an error. So I thought, well, okay, apparently there's a error log made for it. Let's check it. But then that doesn't exist apparently. It wasn't created. So I thought, well, let's take out the word start and try it with console. So it's sudo neo4j console, and that was much better. It seemed to run okay then. And you'll see it gives you creating the new user. It will give you a username, and by default it'll be neo4j, and it will say you need to need to change your password when you sign in. That's true. And then it gives you this address, localcast dot and I can't quite see on the small editing screen, but it looks like 767 something, or whatever it gives you. HTTP dot colon / and then the local host, and then dot number, then the slash, whatever that is for you. Copy and paste that over into your web browser, so Firefox, and then you'll get to this screen and just simply type in the username Neo4j, and then there is a password, but it doesn't tell you what it is exactly on the terminal. So I just guessed, is it Neo4j? Is the password and username the same? I typed in the wrong password at first. I typed in a different password, but then I tried Neo4j. There you go. That should log me in now. Yeah, it's logged in. And as it said it would, it's requested a new password. So I just typed in just a quick password. And then I just thought I'd make a note of that in the tab for us. So I know that on our end, Neo4j, we have a local host set up on port 7434 or 7134. Can't quite see because of the small screen. So I made a note of that. And then the username, which was, and it's going to be the same for you, more than likely Neo4j, and then the password, Callie. Quite an easy one to remember. What was I doing now? Oh yeah. So you've got to get these documents, those 4 that we had from the Python script when we worked with Bloodhound Python. These JSON files, which I think stands for JavaScript, maybe. But they're basically like configuration files that are going to be useful. So what was I doing now? I think I was just naming the Sublime document and saving it. So yeah, you want to copy and paste. I know you don't need to copy and paste this, but this is in the background going to be kept up. Like if you get signed out of that, or if you lose connection to that, or close that window, then you're going to have to type in again sudo neo4j start console, or console start, like we just did, and get that back up and running again. Okay, so keep that running in the background. So the command you're going to need here is sudo bloodhound and then --no -sandbox. Once you type that in, obviously if you need to type in your password again, so be it, and it will open up with the Bloodhound application, and already it'll have in there the local host that you need. But if that top box isn't the one that you've already set up on the Neo4j, just make sure it's the same address, and then put your username and password in. It's going to be the same as the Neo4j username and password. And now, so this terminal tab on the right is kind of locked now in with the Bloodhound. This is why I have multiple tabs open, of course, because one's going to be like locked into VPN, one's now locked into Bloodhound, one's probably locked into Neo4j, that kind of thing. So just keep that in mind, that you won't be able to type in the terminal anymore. So open up use the folder button in the top left of the screen, that little folder icon, to open up your folders. It's basically the directories, but it's in a graphical user face like in Windows. And then click on for me it was documents, and then Pathfinder. So find your JSON files, and quite simply drag and drop those 4 .json files into the Bloodhound program by literally dropping them on that part of the screen. And that will then say that they are uploading, and when they're all 100% finished, you can just click and close that box. And now you can see me pointing at this analytics thing. This is going to be used next. At this point I was stopping for a break, so I was just double checking that everything was okay, like no one had reset the machine, because you'll find that people can reset the machine and it kind of it can be annoying, so it might log you out, that kind of thing. So I'm just going to get the second half ready. Yeah, so I just had to have my dinner, and then I came back an hour or so later, and I was just checking everything was fine. Yeah, it was good to go. So now I'm going to probably say this is the the hacking part. Everything up to this has been just getting ready really, but now it's like properly hacking. So I had to read through the PDF again, and the PDF suggested there are 2 good analytics we can use with Bloodhound. The first one being shortest path to high value targets. So in the top left it says 3 buttons. Click the one on the right, I think, or one of those 3 buttons. I think it's either the one on the right or the one on the left. It'll pop up with those 3 options. Click on analysis, the third one, and then you'll get a list of like these good pre-built queries. You want the query that says shortest path to high value targets, and it'll throw up this kind of web. So this is trying to show us in a graphical way how the domain is set up. So what users are in there. The users are the green ones, so you've got administrators there near the middle. What machines there are, and you can see there's only really, I think there's only one machine there, this pink one here, Pathfinder at Megacore. So there's only one at the moment we can see based on those .json files. The yellows I think are the user groups, like what groups users belong to. But you can see there's a few green ones. There's one down here. Can't see the name of it at the moment. Oh, Sandra at Megacore. So yeah, Sandra's the person we've kind of probably hacked in a previous machine. That's why we knew her username and password from earlier, because we already got that information. There's the administrator one. You can see he's quite connected, of course, being an administrator. In the middle you can see I think it's the domain itself, megacore.local, and on the far right, bottom right, you'll see svc underscore bes, BES, svc underscore bes at megacore.local. Now this one's quite interesting because look, so if this was without a walkthrough, you'd just be looking at all this and trying to gather as much information as you can. And a good tip is, if you right click on one of the lines and then click help, it will suggest some possible exploits. But as you can see here, this is the only user where it says ASREP reliable or something, ASREP reliable. It says true. All the others were false, but SVC bes has it true, which means there's a possible exploit to do with getting credentials, getting passwords. So I'm just in my notes, Bloodhound interesting findings. We've got a user here called svc underscore bes at the domain name. So the username is just svc underscore bes. I think. I don't think it's the whole thing. I think it's just that first part, but I could be wrong. And then yeah, ASREP. Not reliable, roastable. Sorry, true. Yeah, and like I said, I did check the other ones. The other ones are false, but this one is true. And you can see she's kind of linked to that computer. She's linked to the top one above. It says group policy creators, and I think she's linked to the domain as well in the middle. So I was just having a scan through any other information, and everything else seems to be fairly secure. As far as I can tell, there wasn't any other glaring weaknesses. I'm guessing when they design these boxes, the creator has a specific vulnerability in mind, and there's generally like the kind of one vulnerability that it is open to, or maybe there's a couple, but they kind of say that, yeah, this is the obvious one, this is what you'll be exploiting and making sure to look out for in the real world. So we know that there's a machine as well, and the machine's name is Pathfinder. Just kind of already know that anyway. Yeah, you can see there ASREP roastable false. Yes, I think I just had a scan through all these. So next we want to find another similar useful query. It's near the top. I think it says shortest route to the domain. I think I might have clicked the wrong one. Did I click the wrong one? Here you go. Something passwords with DC sync rights. Yeah, this is the right one. So this is a useful one because it'll show you which users are able to change passwords, I think. And as we can see here, look, svc bes is is well connected. She's right on connected to the domain right there. And again, it just kind of tells you the same information when you click on her. And this is what I mentioned, that tip earlier. If you click help on one of the lines, it'll let you know like if there's any exploits that are known about on this tab. And this here is probably what we're going to do, but we might do it a slightly different way. We might use an in-packet tool, but that there is probably another way of doing the same thing that we're going to do, I suspect. But we could use an in-packet tool from their library. So yeah, I had another little read of the walkthrough, which gave us a few pointers. Starting to talk about TGTs, ticket granting ticket. So Kerberos, which we know from LMAP, is an authentication service, and Kerberos does exist in this network. And it's Kerberos kind of gives you like a pass, like a ticket, and says, yeah, you're welcome to the system. Here you go, here's a ticket because you've authenticated. And what we're going to do is use SVC Bess's account to get ourselves a golden ticket, like a ticket granting ticket, which means that I think this is true, and I could be a little bit wrong, but essentially it means that this ticket allows us to have access and we don't need to continually change it, update it. It's good to go forever kind of thing. So while I was reading the walkthrough, I came across obviously this RASREP roastable, and I wasn't sure what it meant, so I did some reading around it. But I'm not going to read it all out now because you can pause the video or find that out for yourself quite easily. So I was just checking through my tabs, everything's okay. Yeah, VPN was still up. And go to a new tab, and this is the command we're going to use. I'm just changing directory first to my Pathfinder folder. Just checking what's in there. Yeah, we're all good. And then this is the command we need. If I zoom the screen in, sudo get np users dot py, and then you see it hasn't gone green, it stayed red. This alerted me to the fact that something's wrong. I've made a mistake. So I thought, well, maybe I have to install it. I don't remember reading that in the walkthrough. And the first time I did this box, I never had a problem with this command. Get np users was there ready to go. So in a moment you'll see me start to do a bit of like troubleshooting. I was checking, well, where's this from? It turns out it is from in-packet, and that mistake that I mentioned earlier, because I forgot to copy and paste in that final line of that final command from my notes to properly install in-packet, meant that obviously in-packet wasn't available, so this get np users wasn't available. So I'm going to skip the video footage ahead a little bit to when I type in that command that we need, and then we'll carry on from there. So after a few moments trying to find out what the problem was and doing a bit of a search, I realised it's probably that I didn't copy and paste in this last command for in-packet, sudo python3 /setup.py install. So first off, make sure you change the directory to the in-packet folder, so make sure you're in the in-packet folder, then put that command in and it should run hopefully like this, which is quite good. So it looks like it has installed everything it needs to, and then from there we can continue. Zoom the screen back out. And as you can see now, the get np users.py no longer remains red, it goes green, which is good. It means it recognizes it. So the command you're going to need is sudo get np users.py megacore.local /svc_bess -request -no-pass -dc -ip 10.10.10.30, and all that on one line. I just had to put it underneath because it wouldn't fit across the screen. And I don't think it matters capital letters or lowercase. I think you can have both because it's Windows, and Windows active domain, obviously a Windows thing. I don't think it's too concerned whether it's lowercase or uppercase. I could be wrong, but I think Unix is more geared towards case sensitivity, but Windows isn't as fussed. Windows doesn't mind. And like I said, the username is just svc_bess. So the last bit of it that we got earlier had like @megacore.local. That can go because that's the name. And in this command, we need to put it in front, as you can see here, and you'll get the TGT, the ticket granting ticket for svc_bess, and that is gonna allow us to authenticate ourselves. This is kind of like a hash though. So what you're going to do is copy and paste the whole of this string from the beginning, where there's like a $sign, to the end, which says 34. So we're going to highlight all of this, and then, as I said earlier, hold Control and Shift and press C to copy, because we're in Terminal, and that is how we copy information to our clipboard in Terminal. So once we've copied this in memory, we're going to just go back. Yeah, like capital CD didn't work, as you saw. You got to use lowercase cd. I'm going to go back a folder, so cd ... to go back a folder, and now just in Documents. Now I'm going to go into the Pathfinder folder or directory. I'm going to create a file called hash. I'm going to use that with touch, so touch hash, just an empty file. And then I'm meant to type in echo, but I accidentally typed in cat. So I'm going to do it properly now, because I just realised the mistake. So yeah, I'm going to jump back to the start of that string using hold the control button down and then hold left, take me to the start quicker. Get rid of cat, put echo, then Control Shift V in the string, and then arrow hash, because the hash is the name of the file. That means place all of that into this file. Sorry, so it's placed all that text string into the file. As you can see, there's a mistake. I double checked by catting hash to show me what was in there, and it showed me this, which is not what we need. We need more than that. So I went manually into Sublime and pasted in the whole string, and then I saved that. Control S to save it, to update it. And when I did cat this time, as you can see, it's successfully saved. So that whole string now, that whole hash, has been saved in the file called hash, which is I've also got open now in Sublime. So we're going to use this hash. We're going to crack it to find out what it really says. So to do this, we're going to use something called John the Ripper, and the command for it is John, and it comes naturally installed already in your Kali Linux machine. But at this moment, I realised, because it was a fresh install, I needed to get the rocku file again. Rocku.txt is like a huge list of words, which are common passwords. I think it was discovered. It was created, not discovered, a few years back now, because a hacker had downloaded a database of people's passwords, and he kind of uploaded that into a file. So it's quite infamous. So it's called rocku. It's a text file, and by default, if you have this version of Linux Kali, it'll be on there, but it'll be in a compressed file or a zip file, very similar to how it works with compression on Windows. Pretty much the same. So we need to uncompress it, kind of thing. You can also, as I'm showing you on the screen on the left, you can also just install it quite quickly from the internet. So I've just showed you easily how you could just save it as a file, but it's there ready to go. But as you can see, it says rocku.txt.gz unzip, so you need to unzip it. So on the screen are the commands to unzip it. So I've just paused the footage here to show you how to install it. First off, I've used locate, and then I've typed the name of the file I want. I know the file's called rocku, and that will just search and try and find any directories, or I think it's files actually. Those just look like files. Just try to find anything with the word rocku in it. As you can see, the last one on the list is the one we need, and it shows you the path to get there. It's in the so in the root, which is the first slash, it's in the user directory, then it's in the share, then it's in the word lists, and then within that directory is the file rocku.txt at the moment gz. Gz stands for gunzip, so it's compressed like it is in when you zip a file in Windows and you have to unzip them or uncompress them. It's the same kind of thing. So I changed directory to that folder, word lists, just to be able to ls and show you that it's there, and it's in red at the moment because it's unreadable in its or unusable in its compressed form. So we're going to do sudo gunzip rocku.text.gz. So that's the name of the text. Obviously ask for the password as we're using sudo. And gunzip will unzip any gz files. So that command gunzip hopefully should be in green for you because it comes built in. But if not, it might be a case of quickly doing a Google search to how to install gunzip. But like I said, this is a fresh install, so for you, if you have a fresh install, it should be there naturally. And then once, we do ls again, because once we've unzipped it, you can see now it's no longer red and it no longer says .gz, it just says .text because it's a normal text file. And we need, I could cat it out, but it would it'd create a huge list, like the shopping list from hell. And it will just go on and on for like a minute or so, showing you every single word in the file, because there's 14,000 or so, I think. There's a lot. So we're going to just use the real path, though. We need the real path location, because when we do John the Ripper and we want to use a file as a dictionary attack, so it's got the words in for us, it needs to know the whole path, so we can't just put in word list equals rocku. Unless maybe we're in this folder when we do it, but if we type in real path and then the name of the file, it pops up with like the true real path towards the file from the root. So we're going to copy and paste that /usr/share/wordlist/rocku.text, or you can just remember it, but copy that so that when we come to do John the Hash in a second, we can paste that in. So what I do next is hold Control and press page up, page down, just to flick to a different terminal window, back to this one. Type in sudo, then John. John is the command for John the Ripper. Then the name of the file, in this case hash, then a -w, and then I paste in that real path towards the rocku.text file. When I initially do this, I just do it without specifying any format to try and crack. And what I do is I watch what John does. It takes a moment. It's just doing it now in the background. I look at what suggestions it offers, because it says, oh, warning, we're only going to use KRB5ASREP format to try and crack these. But we've also seen this type, like raw MD5 or as you can see, zip monster, and then it says you could use the -- format equals the name of it option to force loading hashes of that type instead. So it's giving you suggestions, because it's like, even though we only did it in Kerberos 5 AS rep E type, as it says there at the bottom, you could also try this or try this formats. And I found when using John the Ripper that it's best to specify the format you want, and if you do specify the format you want, it will work not only quicker, but it just might work out right, whereas it won't work at all if you don't specify the format. So you'll see me in a second, because I gave it my first go and it didn't quite work, so I thought I would use my notes to double check if I'd missed anything else. So you can see here my notes, John, and then like hash, and then -- fork equals 4. So you can specify I think how many CPU threads are running with that fork equals 4. I'm not entirely sure, but that can come in handy sometimes. They can speed it up and things. Make sure you do /wordlist equals and then the real path location. I don't think -w works. I think it has to be -wordlist equals. You see in blue that flag there. And I didn't know it. I'm not 100% sure what fork means, so I've just put select amount of forks. But yeah, that's just for my cheat sheet that I keep. Oh, so in the background, while it was going on, it did find the password. I wonder why it didn't find it the first time, but it found it the second. Maybe because the first time I just did /w instead of -wordlist equals, and when you do -wordlist equals, it's going to work. So I must have typed something in wrong the first time. So what you see on the screen now is what you want, and I'm just copying and pasting that Sheffield 19 over into my Sublime document so we don't forget it. Now the walkthrough mentions using WinRM, Win remote connection, I think, to connect. and we know that 5985, which we found earlier using mass scan, and then we looked into it with nmap, is using the service of Windows RM. So we can now use that thanks to finding Beth's password of Sheffield 19. We can use that now to get in to the domain. But before we do, we need to install the program that will allow us to do this, called evil-winrm. And I did a quick Google the first time I did this box, and I just read a bit around it and found out what it was. But yeah, it's going to enable us to hack into the domain on that port 5983, whatever it was. So to install it, it's just going to be sudo gem install evil-winrm. Gem, I think, is something to do with Ruby, so it's a bit like Python or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but it's going to, or it's like apt-get, you know, it's going to install that program really quickly, no worries, nice and easily, as you'll see now. So once it's finished, you'll see a long list of things that it's installed. Ignore that, sorry. And then we're going to type in sudo gem, no, not gem, sudo evil-winrm, which is the name of the tool we're going to use, -i to specify where we're going, where we're attacking, 10.10.10.30, user with the -u, svc_best. Again, I don't think it matters if it's capitals or not. And then -p, and then the password, which we got from earlier from the cracking the hash Sheffield 19. And you can see we're in. First thing we do is type in who am I. We are definitely svc best on the domain megacore. And then I just messed around trying to just see what else I could do. So I'm still getting used to which commands work on Windows only, which commands work on Linux only. Some commands like cat can work sometimes on both, like you'll see in a bit. Cat does work on both. But yeah, so I realised, let's just get on with finding the flag. dir for directory, nothing in there, so I'll go up a folder, cd ... dir again, what we got in this folder, desktop, downloads, favourites. Desktop's always a good place to look, change directory to that, list what's there for me, or dir what's there for me, just perfect what we need. The user.txt, easy. So type user.txt, that will tell us what's in there, exactly the same as cat, as you can see what's in the folder, and that is the first flag. The flag is what you need, like a code, like a password, to prove that you have successfully hacked the machine. So we're going to copy and paste that flag over into our Hack the Box account. So we'll just click on submit flag or Pathfinder, copy and paste it in, give it a difficulty rating. I just went for the medium, and then click submit flag. Now I already did it earlier on my first attempt when I thought I was recording, so it's already been done for me. And you'll see that this one here, the user own, will go green, which means you've pwned the box as the user account. But can you also gain access to the administrator account? Can you access the root and therefore have total control over the machine? So in Sublime, I'm just typing in the user flag that we found, and then I'm going to set up a little bit of space underneath that, ready to copy and paste in the add administrator flag as well. So the administrator, if we have those hashes that we found using Beth's account, because we got her password Sheffield 19, and we used her account because her account had a privilege that allows you to get the hashes of other users. So we're going to use her account now, and we're going to use an in-packet tool. We're going to submit her credentials via this tool to get back the NTLM hashes, and then we can use that to do something called pass the hash, which means instead of having to type in a password, you can just take the hash and give it to this other domain or this other computer that asks for the password. So I just did a bit of Google on NTLM because I wasn't entirely sure what it was. Which essentially means if you grab the hash from the server, you can authenticate without knowing the actual password. That's what's important, because we just get the hash. We don't even need to crack the hash. We just need it. So we're going to use that secrets dump.py from inpacket. We're going to put the flag -dc-ip, then the IP address of the machine we're attacking, then the domain name with a slash, and then the username. And I don't think it matters again if it's capital or not. So I was just going back to my nmap results, and yeah, from nmap I learned the domain name was megacore.local. We knew that anyway, and there was a 0 at the end of it, but you don't need that. I don't know why nmap found that 0. And then slash the username, and again doesn't need to be capitals or necessarily, and then a colon followed by the password, and that's how it reads username, password, and then at the @ sign, and then the address, which I'm not 100% sure if you need if you've already got it at the start, but we put it anyway just to make sure. And you can see here it's worked lovely. It's telling us the administrator has got this hash, there's a colon in the middle, and then there's another hash. So I've just copied the first hash, now I'm highlighting the second hash, make sure there's a colon in the middle. I could have copy and pasted both of those in one go, but I just wanted to show you that there's two separate hashes there, separated with the colon. Okay, so I'm going to copy and paste that over into my Sublime folder for safekeeping. Sublime file, sorry, for safekeeping. Now, you don't need to you don't need to crack these hashes now. But I stupidly spent a bit of time just seeing if I could crack them with John the Ripper, and I couldn't crack them. So they might be a little bit trickier than, they might be a bit more complex than a standard password. If I'd have spent more time trying to crack them, putting in more word lists, trying rules and things to test for more combinations of possible words, eventually you probably could crack it eventually, depending on how complex they are. So I'm just going to skip the video ahead because there's no point you watching me trying to crack it. So make sure you have those two hashes copied into this command, sudo psexec.py. Then we need the domain megacore.local / then administrator, because that's the username, and then the IP address 10.10.10.30. Then we're going to use the flag -hashes. Then we're going to paste in those two hashes that we got from using secrets dump for the administrator, and it's going to pass that over and authenticate you. If you see this C:// then you know that you are in. At the minute, all I did was I typed in dir directory, and it was a bad idea because there was too many directories and it was just going on and on. So I pressed Control-C to cancel that. I ran the psexec.py script again, so you can see I ran it again here. I didn't type in dir straight away. I went back a folder and then typed dir, and it still gave me quite a few, so I was pressing enter just to try and space them out to be able to read them easier, which was also not a great idea, because when it stopped listing all the directories, it kind of, it went down a few lines. I noticed this file jeaublkn.exe, and I noticed that and this one fitlrckf.exe, I noticed those two files were created. I created those by gaining access using this inpacket tool. So maybe those are artifacts that someone can leave behind. So you maybe want to remove those, delete those, possibly, because that could be an obvious sign of how the hack was made. Anyway, I Control-C'd out again because I'd listed the directory that was too long. So I went back in using that psexec.py command. Make sure you type in who am I, to just double check. If it says NT authority, then you can be pretty confident you are administrator. And to finish off, all we need then is to find the file with the flag string that we can copy and paste to prove that we have become administrator. So I just changed directory back to the root, and then I managed to find the users, and I just had a quick peek in Sandra's or SVC Bess's, and then came back, and yeah, there's SVC Bess's user.txt still there. So I came back to users, and then I went into administrator, and you can't, for some reason in this shell, you can't do tab to complete it, you have to type it all out. List of directories, and again we've got the common ones. Desktop, again, is good, first one to check, and so be it, we did. There is the root.txt, and all we're going to do is type in, I think cat does work, no it doesn't, not in this shell, but type would work, type pretty much always work. All we're going to do now is copy that over. I like to just make sure my Sublime document is complete, so I pasted it into into that tab, excuse me, and then go back onto Hack the Box website and submit this flag, and it will automatically know it is the system, the box, the administrator's flag, and it will tell you at the bottom right with a green box, yeah, system own, you've captured the root as well now using that flag. And there you go, and that's it. That's how you complete a Pathfinder. I was just clearing my screens, my terminals, backing out of Bloodhound and Neo4j. Just closing it all down now, because this had been the second time I'd done it, so I knew, like, yeah, that's what we need to do. The first time I was doing it, I entered quite a lot of information, the things that I picked up, especially with Bloodhound and Neo4j and those in-packet scripts. I put all that into my document. So if you are taking hacking seriously and you are trying to pick it up, there's probably plenty of cheat sheets already out there, but I'd recommend creating your own notes, your own cheat sheet on your own host operating system, not on the VM one, because I made the mistake of creating it in Sublime, but then when I something went wrong with my Kali Linux, so I had to reboot the entire VM software, and I lost access to that. So I've made it on Microsoft Word on my own computer outside of the virtual machine. Yes, and don't forget to close the VM, and then double check. If you use ifconfig-a, you can check which interfaces are still active. And don't forget to leave the machine, just with that button, the red button to leave the machine, and I think it'll, once I leave the machine and everything, it'll know that I'm disconnected, because it still says I'm connected with the VPN. It's in green starting point, but I definitely closed my VPN in the terminal window. And then these are saved, Control S, just in case we need them. Like those credentials, Sandra, that we had earlier, came from a previous machine. We might need to use those credentials in a future machine. So save everything you've done. Thank you for watching. I hope it helped. Please provide me any feedback or ask me any questions in the comments below. Yeah, it's been fun. Thank you.